You're listening to This Week in Big Sky Basketball as we take you around the conference for all the latest in Big Sky hoops. Now, here's your host, Scott Garrard.
And welcome on in. It's another edition of This Week in Big Sky Basketball. I'm Scott Garrard. Hey, another great show lined up for you today, and we have just 3 weeks left in the conference season. We're going to kick things off here in a moment with Deeshyra Thomas, who's going to join us in the first segment. Idaho State coach Bill Evans in the second segment, and Skyline Sports Colter Nuanez to wrap things up in segment number 3. We'll also preview this weekend's coming games, but let's start by taking a look back at last weekend's games. The Montana Lady Grizz, who suffered a brutal 0-11 start to the league season, swept last weekend's actions, getting wins over Southern Utah and Northern Arizona. Their in-state foes, the Montana State Bobcats, also got a sweep over the weekend, with the Bobcats now in a 3-way tie for first place. The other two teams in that tie, Northern Colorado and North Dakota, both split over the weekend, with Northern Colorado beating Idaho and then losing to Eastern Washington. North Dakota getting a win over Eastern Washington and then falling to Idaho. Idaho State and Weber State both sweeping their slate, with the Wildcats getting an impressive win Saturday over Portland State. All right, speaking of the Weber State Wildcats, let's go out to the sports graphic phone lines and welcome in Weber State's Deeshyra Thomas. Deeshyra, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining us. Hey, your team's had some ups and downs this season, but you got a big sweep last weekend. What was that like for you, and how much of a boost is it for your team's confidence?
It was pretty good for our team, and it was definitely a huge boost for our confidence. And it was just getting a little bit over that bump in the road is what we needed, and we are going to continue to use this as motivation to push through with the rest of the season we got going for us.
You know, it's been fun watching the maturation of this Weber State program, and last season was a big one for you. You guys got plenty of postseason play and experience, fighting through some adversity. Does what you went through last year and the experiences you went through last year kind of help you get through maybe some adversity that you may have faced this season?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were fighters last year, and we just continue to push through this year with whatever we're faced with. And it was a lot of motivation with where we got last year. We definitely want to see some of the same things that we did in postseason play coming with us this year.
You certainly are one of the bright spots for this program. Are you enjoying your role with this team, and do you kind of feel like a leader on this team?
Oh, I love it for sure. And, yes, I'm definitely one of the leaders, but we definitely have many more, and it's surprising some of the younger ones that are stepping up this season as well. It's good to see. Yeah,
it certainly helps when everybody comes together and helps out in that regard. What's that locker room like? It seems like you guys are having a lot of fun up there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's definitely a lot of talk about these next coming up games, this coming up Big Sky tournament. We're just looking forward to what's coming up for us, and we're really excited.
Weber State's Deeshyra Thomas joining us here on This Week in Big Sky Basketball. All right, let's talk a little bit about your story. How'd you end up at Weber State?
I'm from Portland. I'm from Clackamas, Oregon, and Weber State was definitely recruiting me pretty hard towards the end of my senior season. I came out here, fell in love with the campus, fell in love with the team, and as well as the coaches. So that's definitely how I ended up out here.
What when the playing days are done, what do you hope to be? What do you hope to do?
I hope to definitely continue on and do more schooling in psychology, as well as continue to play basketball if I'm able to, for sure.
You know, you've had a chance to play in all the Big Sky venues. Do you feel like the D Event Center is kind of the is there really a better place to play than that arena? Because it seems like that's a fun place to play basketball.
I love it. I love the atmosphere, the huge gym, and just the crowds that we get. It's awesome.
All right, so the Wildcats now sitting in 6th place in the league standings right now with a chance to keep improving that status. What are some of the keys that you guys need to work on for the final 3 weeks of the season to make sure you get a push and help your positioning as much as possible going into Reno?
We just need to make sure that we're locked in, stay focused on the game plan, work together, and take it one game at a time.
Look at that. You're going to make a heck of a coach with those answers. That's impressive. Hey, big road games coming up this weekend, Northern Colorado and North Dakota. How do you and your teammates approach these road games?
We're approaching these road games to continue to stay focused. These are big ones. These are teams that are at the top of the league, and so we're going to approach it just like any other game, follow the game plan, play together and work hard in each game.
You're probably going to spend a few hours on a bus this weekend. Is that good for your team? Does it help in bonding to kind of get away from Ogden a little bit and just spend some time with just you and the team?
Oh, yeah, the bus rides are always fun. We're really close off the court as well, so it's always fun to spend some time together and get some team bonding.
Well, Deeshyra, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Keep it rolling. We look forward to catching up with you down in Reno.
Thank you so much.
That's Weber State's Deeshyra Thomas joining us here on the Sports Graphics phone line. Sports Graphics, the official graphics provider of the Big Sky Conference. All right, we'll take a break, come back and talk some men's basketball. Idaho State's Bill Evans will join the program. We'll also take a look back at all the games from the previous weekend as well. It's all straight ahead. You're listening to another edition of This Week in Big Sky Basketball. The road to Reno is here. March 6, 2017, the Big Sky Conference will descend upon Reno, Nevada for the 2017 Big Sky Men's and Women's Basketball Championships. Go to roadtoreno.com to book tickets and accommodations for Big Sky Men's and Women's Basketball. Be a part of the thrill of Big Sky Men's and Women's Basketball and join the road to Reno.
The Big Sky Conference has a new app. Search Big Sky Conference on the App Store and Google Play and download the new free Big Sky Conference app. Watch live conference events, connect with Big Sky social media accounts, and access premium exclusive content. The Big Sky Conference app, now available for free on the App Store and Google Play.
Listening to This Week in Big Sky Basketball.
Hey, welcome on back. This Week in Big Sky Basketball, segment number 2. I'm Scott Garrard. Hey, the road to Reno. Folks, it's almost here. March 6, 2017, Big Sky Tournament tips off in Reno, Nevada, and your favorite teams will all be part of it. Go to roadtoreno.com, book your tickets, get your hotel accommodations, and be part of the thrill of Big Sky Basketball in Reno. All right, before we bring on Idaho State coach Bill Evans, let's take a look back at last week's results around the conference. North Dakota moved into second place in the men's basketball standings, got big home wins over Eastern Washington and Idaho. Sacramento State handed Weber State only a second loss on Thursday and then followed that up with a home win over Idaho State on Saturday. Portland State also topped ISU before falling to Weber State in overtime. Northern Arizona split the weekend series with the wins over Montana State and a loss to Montana. The Bobcats and Grizzlies both picked up wins at Southern Utah, while Northern Colorado fell to Idaho and Eastern Washington. Once again, let's go out to those sports graphics phone lines and welcome in Idaho State. He's the head men's basketball coach at Idaho State. Coach, how you doing?
Okay, how about you?
Doing well. All right, so you're the reigning Big Sky Conference Coach of the Year. We didn't get a chance to talk to you about the honor last season. So, I mean, I know you're in the middle of this year, but I do want to kind of go backwards a little bit. That had to be a nice honor to be able to get that program turned around and receive some accolades from your peers.
Yeah, no question. You know, it's always an honor when you're able to, you know, accomplish something like that as an individual. And, you know, I was flattered, honored, and you know, my team deserves the credit. When we were playing this year, I've had a couple of coaches call me and ask me if I wanted to give the award back. We're playing so bad, so it's really an honor, and I was really thrilled and appreciative of it.
So your team has had some rough go of it this season. What's the how do you try to keep a team positive when you're going through some struggles?
Well, you know, you have to be positive yourself, you know, and you know, you got to forget the last one and get ready for the next one, and you know, continue to work hard and practice, and you know, it's as much as anything, me possessing the right kind of attitude. If I tend to have the wrong kind of attitude, I'm sending a bad message.
Ethan Telfair, obviously a key player, and we've seen him develop over the last couple seasons, recently surpassed the 1,000-point mark. How's his development been there in Pocatello in developing him into the player that he is now?
Well, you know, he's a gym rat. He's a really hard worker, and you know, I think he's had his struggles like every guy that goes to Division I basketball, but I think he's grown a lot as a person, which I'm I'm proud of. He's not perfect, and of course none of us are, but loves the game. Has very high expectations for himself. He's probably in the gym more than anybody on our team, and there's a correlation there. The amount of time you spend getting better is really important in your development.
You think the rest of the team has fed off that and his leadership by example in that regard?
Yeah, no, I think our guys embrace the things that he's done and the things that he's capable of doing. He hasn't had a great year, and he'd be the first one to admit that. But I think teams have done a good job of defending him and taking some of his strengths away. And that's a credit to the good coaching in our league.
Mm-hmm. Your team really has been affected by injuries as well this season. How difficult has that been as a coach trying to, work new starting lineups together and try to, piecemeal this thing at times?
Yeah, it's really been a challenge. At this level of play, you have two or three guys that potential all-league guys, and then you have guys that more or less fit a role, and we're playing guys that I thought would fit a really good role for us, and now are put in positions where they have to produce, and two of them are freshmen, one of them is a sophomore, so that makes it really hard.
You've got Robert Jones and Novak Topolovic who have really stepped up their game lately. Do you feel like they're developing the way that they should at this point in the season?
Well, I think Novak has made terrific strides as a player. He had 17 points and 12 rebounds the other night, and Novak was a guy that didn't even play in high school. I mean, he sat on the bench, and we were the only one that offered him a scholarship, and he came in redshirted, and he's a hard worker, and he has high expectations, and he's really developed. He went from a guy that nobody knew who he was to a guy that teams are figuring out how to stop, and so that's been an adjustment for him. All of a sudden, people are running him and doubling him on the post. He's never had anybody even throwing the ball on the post, so it's been an adjustment.
You got North Dakota and Northern Colorado coming into Pocatello this weekend. What are some of the keys against those two teams rolling into that arena this weekend?
Well, I think first, North Dakota is a terrific team. I think they're certainly one of the best teams in our league without question. The record proves that. Coach Jones does a great job of coaching his team. I think Quentin Hooker's probably playing as well as anybody in this league, and really leading them the right way. I think he's a really good person, and I think that really helps. As from a leadership standpoint, I think Crandall's really good. So I think his two guards are outstanding. The Baldwin kid seems like he loves to play against Idaho State. He's a terrific shooter, and we play a lot of zone, and so he's been able to make some shots against us. So he's got a good bench. His big kids are skilled and tough, and then they're well coached, and that's all that leads to a bad combination.
I think a lot of people.
Opposing coach.
Yeah, no doubt. When you look at the conference overall, I think some people thought Weber State was going to run away with this thing, but they suffer a loss over the weekend and then get taken into overtime in their second game. North Dakota's just one game back. Eastern's hanging in there. Idaho's hanging in there as well as Montana. Is this, from a parity standpoint, from top to bottom, about as good as you've seen this conference in a while?
Well, I've been here at Idaho State for 5 years, and I don't think there's any question that there's more parity in this league than there has been when I first got here. And I've been around the Big Sky a long time. I was in Southern Utah. I think this is a really good league with some really good teams. You mentioned those 4 or 5 teams, but I think Montana State, has a good basketball team. I think Northern Colorado, he's getting terrific production out of a bunch of young guys too, and they're very well organized and coached. Northern Arizona has beat North Dakota. Portland State beat North Dakota and lost to Weber in overtime. There's a lot of really good teams in this league.
Finally, Coach, the men's basketball tournament coming up here in just a few weeks. What were your thoughts on moving it to Reno last year, your thoughts on the tournament, and are you excited to get back down there again this year?
I think it was very, very well organized, and I think the venue turned out to be really, really nice. I think the Big Sky, did a really, really good job of running that show, so to speak, in Reno, and I was impressed, and I'm looking forward to going back. Hopefully, we can play better. We played North Dakota in the first game last year, and we're very good. So I hope we can go and make a better showing for sure.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to catching up with you down in Reno.
Yeah, thanks very much for your call. I really appreciate it.
Hey,
thank you.
A pleasure and honor was all ours. That's Idaho State head coach Bill Evans on the Sports Graphics phone line. Take a break, come back with Skyline Sports Colter Nuanez. We'll also give you your schedule for the games coming up this weekend. It's all straight ahead here on This Week in Big Sky Basketball.
What makes a Big Sky champion? Is it toughness? Is it competitiveness? Is it community? Is it achievement? Or is it sportsmanship? All these attributes live in the heart of a Big Sky champion. We're the Big Sky Conference.
The road to Reno is here. March 6, 2017, the Big Sky Conference will descend upon Reno, Nevada for the 2017 Big Sky Men's and Women's Basketball Championships. Go to roadtoreno.com to book tickets and accommodations for Big Sky Men's and Women's Basketball. Be a part of the thrill of Big Sky Men's and Women's Basketball and join the Road to Reno.
Now, back to This Week in Big Sky Basketball.
All right, segment number 3 here on This Week in Big Sky Basketball. I'm Scott Garrard. Here in a moment, we'll chat once again with Skyline Sports Colter Nuanez. But first, let's take a look at the schedules in Big Sky men's and women's basketball. On the men's side, Weber State hosts a pair of big games coming up this weekend. They got Northern Colorado and North Dakota. Also, the Montanas with home games against Sacramento State and Portland State. Then a pair of travel partners on Saturday. Eastern Washington hosts Idaho, and Southern Utah hosts Northern Arizona. On the women's side, North Dakota and Northern Colorado host surging Weber State and Idaho State. Big Sky co-leader Montana State travels to play Portland State and Sacramento State, with the Lady Grizz doing the same. Then in a pair of travel partner games as well, Idaho will host Eastern Washington, and Northern Arizona gets Southern Utah. Remember, you can watch each and every Big Sky game for free. All you have to do is go to watchbigsky.com, or you can just download the Big Sky Conference app on the App Store and Google Play to access all of that for free. Again, watchbigsky.com, your streaming home of Big Sky basketball. Let's go out to the phone lines and welcome in a man who's watched a lot of these games online as well, Colter Nuanez from Skyline Sports. Colter, how you doing?
Not too bad, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing well. All right, let's start on the women's side of the Big Sky, where there are 3 teams currently tied atop the conference: North Dakota, Northern Colorado, and Montana State. So I'm going to put you on the spot here. If you can rank those 3 teams with the best chance in regards to the best chance to win the league from here on out, which direction are you going?
Wow. Well, I think I'm a little bit biased in this sense for the pure fact that I've seen Montana State live 7 times this year, and I have not seen North Dakota or Northern Colorado. Because of the unbalanced schedule, neither North Dakota or Northern Colorado have come to Montana, either Missoula or Bozeman, and those are the only 2 markets I cover women's basketball in. All that said, I know that those 2 teams, North Dakota and Northern Colorado, that is, have played really well, but I think that the X factor here for Montana State is twofold. One, Montana State has been in this position before. They're the defending league champs. They probably have the best home court advantage in the league right now, currently. And number 2, I think that the X factor here is the senior leadership of Peyton Ferris and Riley Nordgaard. I think those 2 are 2 of the 10 best players in the league probably, and Montana State has both of them. The other factor with Montana State is they've sat here and they've won 7 straight, and they haven't played well in a single one of those games. So I think that once they turn the corner and figure out how to play at their maximum efficiency, they're definitely a team that can make a run towards that number 1 seed, and I think that's definitely their ultimate goal.
No doubt. Montana Lady Grizz, on the other end, started off the season 0-11. Now they picked up a couple of wins over the weekend, got a weekend sweep. How big is that for their psyche and confidence to try to right that ship?
Huge, and I think it's interesting because the narrative in the league this year and every year always is that this league is so balanced, especially on the women's side. And I haven't watched Montana and Southern Utah live these last couple weeks. I can tell you right now, neither of those are bad teams, even though they've been really striving for wins. After watching the Lady Grizz take Montana State to overtime, I thought to myself, wow, that's a pretty good team, honestly. They just need to get a breakthrough to believe they can do it, and now they have that. So I would expect the Lady Grizz to actually continue to improve heading into tournament play. They have so many freshmen. They're so young. So I think that the confidence builder of last weekend will definitely help them a ton.
All right, let's go to the men's side. Weber State has allowed the league race to get a little tighter. They lost to Sacramento State over the weekend. Have the Wildcats started to show a little weakness that maybe concern you if you were a Wildcats fan?
Well, I think that coming into this year, Weber, on paper, had such a huge advantage because of their roster balance. Everybody on the men's side has great guards. Very few teams on the men's side have dominant bigs. I think everybody thought that Zach Braxton and Kendall Hill certainly had a chance to be one of the best front court duos in the league. And those two have played well, but they haven't dominated necessarily as you might have thought. I think they've also had a hard time replacing Joel Bollenboy, the MVP of the league, obviously, but also the all-time leading rebounder, which you can't say enough about that. I mean, rebounds are so key because it makes it so you can give up just one shot and get a stop. Weaver was so good at that the last couple of years because Bollenboy swallowed up so many rebounds. But to answer your question, I think that Weaver's still the front runner. I mean, they're the proven team in this league in terms of being able to take care of business and hang another banner. But I think that the league race is going to be really, really fascinating. I mean, that last weekend of the year when Weaver hosts Montana State and Montana, it's going to be huge because I think that there's going to be something to play for every team involved in that little scenario. So I love that the conference race is getting close. I mean, it's going to be pretty cool to watch it come down the stretch.
Some great games this weekend on the road to Reno. First, North Dakota travels to play Idaho State. Weber State on Saturday. How do you see the Fighting Hawks placing in this whole thing when it's all said and done?
Well, North Dakota has such a distinct style in terms of the other top teams in this league. They can speed you up more than anybody else, and they can really just run you into the ground. And so much of that is because of their great guards. I mean, Quentin Hooker played one of his best games of his career, and that's really saying something because he's had a tremendous career in that Eastern Washington game. Pairing him with Gino Crandall, who has just emerged as one of the breakout players in the league this year. I mean, those two guys, they can push the pace as much as anybody. They're really starting to complement each other. And I mean, in my mind, because they're so good at home and because they're playing so well right now, they're the key number one contender to challenge Weber here in the final 5 games here to maybe topple Weber and get their first Big Sky Conference title. So I think that North Dakota, they provide a pretty interesting matchup for everybody in the league. But if they can keep playing fast like they do, I think they have an outside chance of making a run and maybe stealing that league title from Weber State.
What's a team that we're not talking about on the men's and women's side that that won't finish first, may not even get a bye, but a team that really nobody wants to face off against in Reno, both on the men's and the women's side?
I would say on the men's side, there's a couple teams. I mean, the logjam in the middle of the league right now is pretty interesting. We have talked a little bit about Idaho, but I think Idaho is a team that no one wants to play because on the men's side I'm talking, because Vic Sanders is such an explosive scorer, and Idaho can go big or small. They're maybe probably the most diverse matchup in the league. I also think no one probably wants to play Montana because Montana has had a down stretch here where they've struggled, but they're one of the premier teams in the league, and they have been, and they have that tournament experience playing in the last 2 title games. I also think people probably want to dodge Montana State because Tyler Hall is probably the best scorer in the Big Sky Conference, and Sac State provides a unique matchup because they're the only team that can go truly, truly big. So I think all those teams that are kind of stacked up, they're battling for that 4th and 5th spot. I think everybody probably wants to dodge them on the men's side. On the women's side, I think Idaho is one just because of John Newley's ability to coach in tournament play. He's gotten the Vandals to the big dance several different times, and including last season. But I also think Idaho State is the team that everybody wants to avoid because, as they've proven under Seton Sobolewski, It doesn't matter where they finish in the regular season standings. They play such a physical brand of basketball. They can win a game or two or even three and get all the way to the conference title game like they have several different times. Just because they can beat you up so much, they can beat you on the glass, and they can play so physical with you. So, I mean, again, we've talked about the parity and the balance of this league all year, but I think it really is true this year, and there's a whole bunch of teams that all the top teams definitely want to avoid.
Well, Colter, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to catching up with you down in Reno.
Hey, sounds great. We'll talk to you guys soon.
You got it. Colter Nuanez of Skyline Sports joining us on the Sports Graphics phone line. Sports Graphics, the official graphics provider of the Big Sky Conference. All right, that's going to wrap things up for us for another edition of This Week in Big Sky Basketball. Special thanks to Weber State's Deeshyra Thomas, Idaho State's Bill Evans, and, of course, Colter Nuanez from Skyline Sports. Also, big thanks to Austin Horton, who, as always, puts this thing together, and the executive producer of This Week in Big Sky Basketball, John Oglesby and Jason Ashcraft. I'm Scott Garrard. Thanks for joining us. Back with you next week for another edition of the Road to Reno as we get you ready for another edition of This Week in Big Sky Basketball.